Lake Harriet Spiritual Community, please help me welcome Cindi Claypatch.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you for coming out. It's hard just the thought of coming to a place that doesn't have great air conditioning is enough to be daunting, isn't it? I thought about staying home. No. Yeah. Well, I appreciate it. I came in and I told Gary, I think I want to be on the spring-fall rotation. Because I remember in the winter I trudged through one of those blizzards to get here too. But thank goodness, whoever is meant to be here is here, so I appreciate it. So how are you? Yeah? Woo-hoo. I paid them. No. Is that great? Yeah, so I love this topic. Today it's, when we grow. And however, would it be okay to shut those doors? Thank you. Kind of energy sensitive and feeling it suck out that way. So when we grow, it's such a great topic because it's not always comfortable to grow, is it? So it's natural when you look at when we're little, our essence is already contracted to come here on this planet for expansion. Okay? And not just the expansion of ourselves, but the expansion of consciousness, to push things beyond where they've been. So when you're in a high mood, that's great, right? But if you were in a lower state of mind, that push doesn't always feel so good. And yet when you're little, it's like you cannot wait to expand. This is my grandniece, and do you love the Lederhausens? Isn't that what those are called? Lederhausens? Yeah. Her parents are so great. They dress her in all different kinds of things. So she wears real girly things and real masculine things and all these different cultural things because they want her to be exposed to everything and grow into what's meant to be. And so I just love that. But when you think of when we're little, nobody has to tell us to crawl. I saw a little video clip of her the other day, and she's just at that stage of starting to walk. And it's so great because the more steps she takes, the more straddled she is. And then she's still going to reach down and pick something up. And you have to just admire what those neural pathways are doing and how her motor functioning is getting, growing. And so that's all that physical level. But we energetically have that too. So we have our field growing all the time, and we have our, energy and frequencies and vibrations that are always expanding. And I'll talk more about how you feel some of that later, but it's just a fascinating thing that we did not come here to stand still. However, there is nothing wrong with standing still. Okay? That to grow is a great thing, but it's also okay to take a pause. I didn't know that when I was younger. I came in with lots to do, and so I always felt this push for momentum to be doing. And then I had this idea that I just had so much to learn and so little time to learn it. So much to do and so little time to do it. So I had this made-up rev in my system. And so it was really nice to start to learn about that beauty of quieting down and hanging out in the space between something. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. So can everybody hear me okay? Okay. So a lot of times we learn by choice, stuff we really want to learn about. something you're passionate about, that's when it's really fun to grow, right? I love this picture because this would be me. If I read something, I want something to take me out, beyond my edges, I like something to stretch me, and I like it to be somewhat woo-woo and out in the field. So when I found this picture, I was just like, oh my gosh, that's so great. Now, my ex-husband didn't think that was always so great. I remember so many times I'd be laying in bed at night reading something about quantum physics in the field or something. I'd be like, listen to this. So, as we grow, sometimes we assume other people want to grow in the same way we do. But you don't want to lose that excitement for your growth. And whether it's in cooking or whether it's in, working with kids or whatever it is to you, it's like noticing the difference when you are happy about that expansion and when you're not. Because when you're happy about that expansion, it's like you're offering no resistance. And so that expansion goes much easier. When we're not happy about expansion, sometimes there's the resistance. And I would say it's probably better if we're not happy about expansion, being pushed in some direction, to go neutral. Because if you go neutral, you take the energy out of the dislike about it. I'm always saying here that you don't have to like it, but don't put energy into the dislike. So the same is like when we're being pushed to grow in ways that we're not exactly happy about, is going neutral is a wonderful thing. It's something I've learned as I've grown. And then many times stuff drops in that ends up being really good learning from something that I necessarily didn't think I was on schedule to learn. Hadn't ordered up in my coursework that I thought. So we have lots of things that I like that picture is like we have stuff pushing us, and those things can happen in a lot of different ways. Did anybody here have to grow up too fast? And maybe because family members weren't doing what they should have been doing, or you lacked something so you had to step up in a way that you didn't expect to? Yeah. So that's a kind of growth that wasn't probably your favorite thing, right? But did it serve you? Yeah. A lot of times it does. I remember years ago, I was dating one of my first serious relationships, and I was dating a guy who ended up becoming an addict, and I was in high school. And he had a really heavy existence. And I was on some school trip, and I was in California. We were stopped at this place, and this woman comes on the bus, and she said, "Is there a Cindi Claypatch on this bus?" And I'm like, what the hell? And I said, "Me," and I get called off the bus. I go to this weird little place where there's a phone, and it's my boyfriend's mom telling me that he left treatment, and what should I do about that? Hello, I'm the kid in high school. Why am I dealing with the welfare of him and his mom? And she said, "Well, he left a note of suicide, and I don't really know what to do, and I'm having some heart problems, and I'm on a bus, in California to go compete in some school something, And so that was not fun. That was not what I called in my plans. However, he ended up being the person that facilitated me ending up being a counselor. Because as I went back to treatment with him and learned, I didn't get off the bus to go do that. I went back 4 days later. But when I went as a concerned person for treatment and stuff, I started to learn a lot about stuff, and I was able to unhook my codependency issues at a very early age. So, I could have gone through my life caretaking, which I still do. I do a lot of taking care of people in my practice and in my family, but it's not with the idea that if they're not okay, I'm not okay. If I can get them okay, then I'll be okay. So I was able to, at a very young age, because I got pushed into this, and so who knows that it wasn't divinely orchestrated, huh? So this is the thing, we have growth because we step into something and we desire it, and then you have growth that's happening to you. And I like to say the sooner you can take a peek at how is this in service to you, then the faster you might be able to unhook the unpleasant ones. But that has served me very well. Over the years, I have a responsible to but not for, I care about people, but I can't carry them. Not my job, And then you have things that, family stuff happens, your relationships happen, or it could be just goofy circumstances. When I bought my first house, I bought it with this other woman. We both were making too much money to get renter's credit. So we decided to pool our money together. We got into the house, and did I share the story about fleas before? Okay. It's almost as much as make your skin crawl by saying lice, right? No. So I move into the house, and the next few days, my roommate, she's got, dots all over her legs, and she's itching, and she's like, oh my God, I don't know what this is. And I'm like, wow, and I was just happy that they liked her better than me. But so then all of a sudden we start seeing these things kind of fly. Well, the people before us had pets, and they moved out with the pets without cleaning up the fleas, so we became the next hosts. Lucky us, huh? So it was really funny. I'd be leaving for work, and my new neighbors, I'd come out the front door, and I would be swatting, making sure nothing was on my legs. I'd turn around, and I was thinking, they must think I'm crazy, this new person coming out. And so, but what that did for me was I got to, and I like to say, I get to learn such and such, because even if it's something I'm being pushed into, for some reason it's happening, is I got to learn about what it was like to be speaking for myself and speaking my truth in court. And how at a young age, I was 23, how I got to speak my truth. I got to try to be heard. I got to learn a lot about houses. So now when I purchase houses, I feel a lot more confident. And so if you can kind of look at what is, and from that point on, it was really interesting that I got very involved in houses. When I was married, my husband and I, we had rental properties, and we were keeping up a neighborhood by buying more properties in that neighborhood to shift it. We had houses that young people could rent so they could get used to owning, what it would be like to own. So that experience moved me into a state of service around houses. So it's a real interesting, kind of a mystical journey that we have all the time, that stuff is happening. And I believe that sometimes it's your guides are lining you up for things, that they're bringing you experiences in a way that will open you, a way that will pop you open in some way. I also believe that sometimes you might just, at a period in time, line up with your blueprint in a way for another expansion. And those are unexpected because we love to plan our growth. We love to know, But when I stepped out of a shower in Mexico and I got filled with nerve pain, I did not know that was going to really push me down the road of doing healing work. I was just like, holy crap, And, I went 6 years with chronic pain. So it wasn't a short lesson, but it was a lesson nonetheless, because during that time I got to learn lots of different healing modalities And then I got activated with energy myself. So for me, all of those different things were activating and raising my vibration to then bring in energy in a new way. So it was one of those things, who'da thunk? I thought I was awake. I thought I was already a conscious person. You know, why would I have to have it done like that? Sometimes you never know. But they're in service. Anybody have anything recently come up for you where it's just like pushed you open? Yeah? Anybody willing to share?
Two.
Thank you. My sister died on July 2nd, and it was a long-awaited death. She was suffering very badly for 4 years, frozen, 100% dependent on others for her everyday cares.
I'm sorry, Ivana, can you speak up a little more?
It's on. Okay, should I start over? Or so my sister, who is 9 years older than I am, died on July 2nd.
Okay.
It was a very long-awaited death because she was suffering very badly. She was frozen in a wheelchair. She was 100% dependent on care for all her needs, and she couldn't speak. She was aphasic from a stroke. And it was so wonderful that she was freed.
Yeah.
And I wasn't prepared to have strong emotions of regret and just like what grief does. I'm crazy with grief.
Yeah.
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 So that's my example.
Good. Because the head understands, but on another level, because we're multidimensional, you have something else running through, you know? And it's so interesting, you know, and I appreciate that you allow that emotion, you know, and even share it. Was anybody listening to NPR on your way over here today? Did you hear the young man from the Congo? Oh my goodness. This young man was speaking from the Congo, and he's a musician now. And he and his family moved from many different camps in their immigration process. And he's now playing music. And you know, we're going to talk about what it's like to be in between things, you know? Like, this is an example for her of, like, the knowing of this condition, the passing, and yet the being in between the reorganization of her system and her family and everything else. So it's that in between. Well, this young man was talking about, they were saying, well, when did you start doing music? And he said, my family always did music, because when we'd be in the camps or we'd be living out in the woods and different places running, every night around 8 o'clock, his mom would get everybody together and they would do music. So he said, in the face of so much unknown, you know, the in-between of everything all the time was music, you know. So we find what it is that we're supposed to be inspired about and what's coming through us through these experiences. And now this young man is really becoming popular because of his ability to move the emotion through the music, you know. So, you know, we have all these different things happening all the time, and they are for our expansion. And then now they're also expanding others. You know, the minute you share it, it goes out. When you move something for yourself, you're moving it for others. So sometimes I'm always saying, like when somebody in my family is going through something, I'll say, thanks for taking it for the team. You know, I'm tired of it. No. You know, sometimes you are the person, you know, who takes it for the team. You know, you are the one that's going to always search things out and grow from it, and then everybody else benefits. And so you want to thank your system for that, you know, because it doesn't help to go into the victim mode about it, does it? No. But it's like thanking your system, thanking things. So your sister was doing something for all of us, you know. And so we want to keep waking so we don't have to do things in such hard ways, huh? Yeah. But knowing something's moving, something's coming through, it's in service to us. So that's what I like to say. It's like, I like to say, I know this is for my benefit. I know that on some level this is in service to me, to the people I serve, to my family, to my communities, to the planet. So bring it on, but make it more gentle, you know. Or I'll say, I wonder what in my vibration is going on, because when stuff comes in, it helps me to see something within my vibration that might be activating something. It helps me to see maybe what I need to be more deliberate about in my manifesting. So rather than those growth periods of being pushed around, now I have a sense of, over time, have learned to embrace it. You know, I'm not saying like, come on in, make my day. Not real interested in that kind anymore. But I do, when it comes in a way that is a bit of a rub, I'll say, I know something's here for me. You know, won't it be interesting? I think most of you guys know that's one of my sayings. Won't it be interesting to see how this unfolds? What is this ushering in? So, isn't this a beautiful line? I have always loved this, where it's, and the day came when the risk to remain tight in the bud was more painful than the risk it took to bloom. So sometimes that is what's happening. We can feel some growth coming on. I like to say something's brewing. And then we contract. We tend to want to resist it sometimes. But imagine if that bud decided to try to stay in the, you know, tight like that. It's a lot of effort, wouldn't it be? Yeah. And then as it opens, how many people or beings get to enjoy it? You know? So as we push open and we get beyond our habits or our beliefs, our limitations at some level, then it's there. I mean, we get to feel the splendor of that, and so do other things. Yes?
I really like this quote, but why is it that we wait to get to this point? Why can't we make decisions before we get to this point?
Yeah. So the question is, he says, I really like this quote, but why do we wait? Like, why can't we make it easier than to get to this point? I think it's because we haven't had people telling us that it's okay to not know, and what it's like to release being contracted. I don't think we're taught those things. I don't think we're often, I mean, I wasn't. I grew up in a family with great faith. I mean, really amazing faith. But it was less about like every day, what's it like to be in an unknown place? And even though it's totally unknown, you have this amazing core essence inside of you that is uncontaminated by your conditions. This amazing essence that's waiting for just the opening, a crack, for something to push through. You know, I mean, if I was a kid and I heard that, that would be really different, you know? That'd be really different to know that this is a real normal place and I don't have to contract. Wouldn't that be for you guys? Yeah. That instead we brace ourselves for change. You know, isn't that an interesting thing? Brace yourself. Well, rather than open yourself, get out of the way of yourself, quit bumping into yourself. You know, what would it be like to just trust, you know? Trust that your essence is going to be intact no matter if it goes over like a lead balloon or whether it's a great thing. Your essence is going to move through it, you know, and yes, we might be clumsy. And that's another thing, like when we do new things, why is it that we think we're supposed to be good? You know, I always think that's just, it makes no sense. So as you see stuff, it's like then you can start to think about creating in a deliberate way. Imagining that, I love this picture by Alex Gray, that there is grids of energy, there's lines of support, your guides, there's vibrations, there's so many different things within the angelic realms, whatever it is to you, that there is so available all around us. But because it's not in our frame of reference or in our line of sight, then again we feel like it's us, and it's work. And so as we all know, and lots of you here know, that in this manifesting, it's about really dreaming it in, calling it in as if it's already there. So to me, I have this thing, like we each have our own energy field. And how many of you sometimes feel like, well, there's a lot of stuff a lot of stuff you've integrated, and then you feel something brewing? Yeah. And that's happening all the time because we're rarely going to stand still unless we deliberately try to stop ourselves or say, I need a break. And it is okay to take a break from expansion. But there's often times where you'll have a feeling that something's brewing. A change is upon us. Those kind of sayings. And to just know that that's out there and to think about all I need to do is get in the highest feeling possible and in my alignment for that to start dropping in or for it to be revealed. That there is this out there. And as something new comes in, it doesn't always feel great, but then you will adjust. Your system will organize it, recalibrate to it. But we kind of always want to know it and what it's going to do before we want it to come in. And anybody have control issues in here? That is when this topic of when we grow, I thought one of the things I have learned the most in my growth is to let go, is to allow space and to let my little pea brain take a rest, So, do you remember dot to dots? Don't you love those? Yeah. How many people did them? A lot of you. Yeah. I used to be one of those kids that I'd be doing my dot to dot, my sister would be doing her dot to dot, and then my mom would call us or a friend would come over or something, and then I would drop my dot to dot, and then I would go do whatever. But my sister would have to know. Any of those in here? Yeah, nothing wrong with that. It's like just some of us stay on a path and we just follow it through. We want to know. And there be discomfort in between the dots, huh? So, I'm sorry that's not really that dark for you, but can you see that little drawing? Okay, so it's like this, and it's like that. So such is life. There's so many times in our life that it's like this. We feel something brewing, we know something's happening, something's changing, we do not know what it is, so we want to start forcing those dots. Or we could just take it at the pace that the universe is offering. Take it at the pace of your momentum, what feels good to you. So, and then it becomes revealed, huh? So, this is life, How many of you are in between something right now? Yeah. And I would say probably almost everybody. You're either in between a job, or you're in between knowing something, or you're in between relationships, you're in between insights, You're in between. We do a lot of our life in between. So at what point is it a problem to be in between? I think that's a fascinating question. It's like your life is revealing itself to you, your identity, the way it's going to take shape. And if we just kind of allow for the unfolding process, like for that flower to just feel the sun, feel the pressure of the internal push to open, then it starts to be shown faster. So I have this saying that I think the mastery is figuring out how to be a tweener. How do you live between the dots? Isn't that interesting? It's just like we have lots of times that we're just in between. And in our culture, is it okay to be a tweener? Sometimes. A culture like this, at Lake Harriet, it'd be totally okay. Because if somebody said, well, I'm kind of don't know what I'm doing right now, they go, oh, cool. Because a lot of people would know that something's unfolding, But if you are with some family members and you might be in between something, what would they say? Do we have directions happening? Said your destination is on your right. Okay. I'll go with it. Might be my guides. Yeah. Oh, it was good. Yeah. So a lot of times, we are meant to know something. That idea of space is not allowed. So if you adopted a program like that, that might be one to kind of reflect upon and say, is that old? Does that serve me anymore? Is it okay to allow for a pause? A pause between music is really rich, isn't it? Often I used to think of to be in between points was like to be in a void. And we're not real comfortable with that word void, right? Because that idea of emptiness. But even in quantum physics with the whole energy field, the part that is seen is just so minuscule, isn't it? Compared to the space in between. And we know today that space in between is a medium. It's a medium that is actually kind of like paint or water, That medium is holding up planets. That medium is moving things for purpose. And yet it's not seen. And so are the things in our life. They are not seen, but there's a medium. And if we could have that faith in the unseen, the faith in that formlessness that we can't see, then we'd do better in between the dots. So how many people have comfort in between the dots? We have some. How do you have comfort in between those dots? Do you have Can you use this mic, please?
I just get quiet and know that the universe is going to guide me, and I know that I need to be quiet in order to get that message. So it's not my plan. It's difficult, being in between, because I think we always want to create and do, and so that's the challenging part. But I think life experience has told me, that the answer will come.
Good. Thank you. Can you hand it to her behind you?
I usually look at the circumstance. If it feels uncomfortable, that's when you know. And then I look at the pieces, and then where the resistance might be, you know, at the moment. Like it's either a shock or it's something that just jerks you or things. And I do pretty similar what she does. Then I kind of let it go and I ask the universe for clarity and wait.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah, let go and wait. You know, tell your boss that. No, I'm just letting go and I'm waiting here. You know, that used to happen when I was on work, you know, doing jobs, and people would say, you know, well, what's the plan? And I'd say, well, it hasn't come to me yet. And then I'd just stop, and they'd be like, well, what are you going to do? Well, I'm just going to get clear. But, like, what are you going to do, really? I'm really going to try to get clear. You know, we have to reculture things sometimes. Do you have the mic? Oh, sorry.
I had a really wise teacher tell me one time that I didn't have to know the answer to everything. And while I never viewed it as the in-between, I knew that if my mind got really busy and I needed to know why something was happening, that was a time to let it go and just relax, and it would become clear. And I've lived my life like that for a long time now, and it really works well. I didn't know all the now I'm growing thing, but I did know I didn't have to know everything.
Yeah.
And it's such a relief.
Yeah.
Amen.
Amen. Yes.
I'm learning that to actually declare that the in-between is relevant, in fact, maybe even more relevant. And I've been rereading William Bridges' book, Transitions.
Yes.
And one thing that I read yesterday that I thought was so interesting, he said part of the reason why we struggle with transition is because we haven't embraced the ending yet.
Yeah.
And seeing the transition as just as valid. So I'm finding that just declaring that and recognizing that the validity of it, instead of it being a waiting period, has really been helpful.
Good. Is that?
And Cindi, I really enjoyed the quantum reference to where perhaps the in-between is really the majority of our existence, and how to enjoy that, or how to let it or allow it.
Yeah, it's we know more now in the sense of how to create, how to manifest, how to call something in, and we know that that has a lot to do with how we're feeling and what our vibration is. So if we are trying to push for a change or make something change out of fear, then we're really not going to receive or be able to have something unfold out of that. So it is contrary, isn't it, to do less. It always has been. Because we're a culture that pushes and wants to do more by that momentum in that efforting. But to think that momentum actually can come with less effort is something I want to get behind. Your phone is giving directions again? No. Oh, yeah. Yeah, even on airplane mode, Siri will help you. I found that out because I'm Wi-Fi sensitive and I have my phone on Wi-Fi all the time, and if I have asked Siri for a direction, I still get directed. It's amazing. So, when we're looking at things, it's for me, I've gotten more comfort in a lot of these different things. So like, form and the formless. Like I'm okay with form showing up in ways that I didn't necessarily want, because I know that's going to change too. And then I'm okay in the formless. I'm okay with knowing and not knowing. Sometimes you know things you really didn't want to know, more than you wanted to know. And then other times you're waiting for some knowledge, you're waiting for some knowing. But again, any of these positions, it's that part of like, can I hold space in between it? Can I be okay in the range of it? Is really huge, and it'll allow you to find that life is a lot easier when you don't have resistance to any of those things. Being and not being, caring and not caring. I used to get really wiggy about that I should care about something that I really didn't. If a bunch of the people around me did, I'd be like, no, I guess I really don't. Doing and not doing. I have a family of golfers. I am not a golfer. you know? I can appreciate it and love that it's a great sport. And it's kept my mom young into her 80s, you know? But for me, that idea of like hitting that thing and spending a half a day with it is not my deal. But if I had my hands in the garden and somebody else couldn't imagine, why would you sit and be digging in the dirt all day, you know? So this is the beauty, is caring and not caring, moving with where you are, who you are. You know, wanting, not wanting, growing, not growing. So I think I've shown this before, but this idea that we are first spirit, we get shrink wrapped in a body, that essence that is shrink wrapped is going to want to expand. And then it is going to expand. It's going to take a step out before maybe you're ready for it sometimes. And I like to say that that's being out of phase. It just means that you are where you were is not where you're going right now. So you might have one foot in each world, but you can trust that eventually this side comes into this side. And then the next expansion happens, and this feels clumsy and sometimes lonely, right? Like, how many of you have ever been lonely from your expansion? Yeah. Like you just somehow, you've moved out of something, and you're not totally into the next thing. Well, this is a place that's good for that. This is a place to get to know people who might be more where you're moving now. You know, that, you know, when you get to connect with other people, whether it's through being involved in something, you know, volunteering somewhere, it's huge because it gives you, it starts to build that new matrix for you. So it's fine to take the pause and be solo, and many of us are somewhat introverted or high sensors, so we don't necessarily need big crowds, but we do need connection. You know, so as you're here, you know, there's people here who could maybe let you know how you could volunteer. There's people here, we have a lot of different stuff going on here, and there may be ways that you can step in to not have to feel like you don't fit, or you don't have a place, or you don't have something to do. You know, but you find those places, find whatever it is, because there are those things. So, you know, in being a tweener, it is that part of reaching out. What helps? Getting quiet helps. Reaching out to others helps. Being involved helps. Trusting. Calling on your guides. Calling on the unseens to make it be known. You know? But not out of an urgency or insecurity or a lack. But if you can switch it into an excitement. You know, it's like, won't it be interesting to see how this unfolds? I wonder why this is happening now. When my husband had his midlife crisis, I remember thinking, you know, like, whoa, this is really interesting. Like, why now? What is this about? I wonder what this is going to show me, you know? And a lot of interesting things happened at that point. You know, my brother needed support, and he and I got really close. My dad passed. I was able to be available to my mom. More energy came in, so I was able to play more. So it's that idea of like, isn't this interesting? You know? So, yep, for just a short little meditation, it's kind of, okay. So if you have any music. And this meditation is just going to be about kind of like settling the system down, expanding your field, and maybe picking up a dot. Okay? All right. So go ahead and get yourself comfortable in your chair. If it's possible for you to close your eyes and reduce the stimulus, that would be good. And just breathe. Breathe in. And breathe out. Just as you're breathing, just relaxing your system. Just allowing the air to move down into your belly, expanding your belly, and breathing out. And let's ask you to call upon your higher self to support you and to facilitate what's needed. Allow your higher self to screen and decide what's good for you. And thank your current self and your past self for getting you where you are today. Whether it was through gentle expansion or pushed, just being grateful. And ask that that knowing inside of you can recognize how everything's been in service. Now let's ask that you send out the energy field around you. Just puff it out slowly, just to a space that feels comfortable. And imagine just filling that space with beautiful light and awareness. And feel that as it's a natural vibration to who you are. And now ask to gently open your energy field a little bit and push it out just a little bit more. And imagine that your higher self and your consciousness is going out into the field to pick up a dot, something that's about your next steps of knowing or being or doing or attracting. And just imagine the recognition that your essence has for that dot. Imagine that there's a knowing of this pattern, this drawing that's called your life. And you just pick up that dot and you ask your system to integrate that. Just allow it to gently come into your system with the request that it be gentle, that it be just the natural next step to your expansion and evolution. And as your essence bears witness, it knows that it may be a time-released piece. It may unfold gently and over time. But if you're comfortable, that you welcome that expansion. And notice if there's any part of you that sees yourself differently with that piece. And allow in what it offers you. And asking that your consciousness pick up on the vibration of it throughout your week. Just seeing if something's unfolding, if something's being shown. And know that the activation within your field will draw to you that which supports it. Asking your guides and the unseens and your faith to resonate and activate. Asking that your systems align to the new peace. That you calibrate and integrate it. Imagine down a silver line for the alignment of yourself. Filling your field with light. And as you pull your field back into a place of comfort, close the opening and wrap your personal bubble with this beautiful membrane to hold your energy. Thank your higher self and your guides. And slowly come back to the room. Well, I really wish you ease in expansion. Growth does not have to be painful. It can be so exciting. And I think one way that we can grow is to continue to grow the energy field of any place that we are. So as you gather in your families or you gather in a place like this, the energy field continues to grow and expands. And then as your feeling rises and you feel lighter and brighter and vibrate more, then that actually moves out through that field in such a beautiful way. So whether you feel like you're making impact with people directly, please know always that you're having impact and that your being here matters. It really matters to us, matters to me. And so in this larger, powerful tribe here that's formed today, if anybody has any intentions, anything that you would like, feel free to call them out. And it doesn't have to be personal. It can be for whoever or for the planet. And we'll take that energy and then we'll just all take our personal energy and get behind that, sending it out into the field. So, anything?
Ease.
Okay.
Clarity.
A little bit louder, please. Thank you. Great. And any private intentions, we're asking that all of us get behind those private intentions, that we need not know it, but we offer each other the energy of it. And offer the energy here to Lake Harriet Spiritual Community, to all of your communities, your families, and out into the planet and the universe. We wish you well. All right. Thank you.